Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
All right, welcome back. You are listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. We are the radio show that helps you with your real estate transactions. If you've got a question, give us a call, 281-882-8088, and we'll try to get those real estate questions answered for you. We are online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com, and we always try to bring you interesting and great guests that have to do with the real estate industry so that you can go online and do some research as well. We always have links to their websites and more information online at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. Today in the studio, I have Paul Connor in here with me, and we are talking. He's actually with McAlister Investment, and I wanted to bring him on to talk because their company they start from the very beginning before the consumer ever gets involved in the buying process. So they have a unique point of view on the market. And wanted to bring him in and talk about that. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Appreciate you having me.
So tell me about your company and what y'all do.
Sure. McAlister Investments is on the land investment, is in the land investment business. We essentially buy the acreage that will eventually become suburb-style residential communities or the retail that goes along with it. So we actually work with the developers here in town to develop out the suburbs you'll see, as well as the retail developers supporting those residential developments.
Now, are y'all actually doing any build-out, or are you just supporting them with the land sale?
We are purely an investment side of it. We're not actually in the development side. We get involved on the soft cost side of it, going through entitlements, mud setups, working out drainage issues, things of that nature, but we don't actually do the development. We always partner with, joint venture with, or sell it to one of the developers here locally and let them do their expertise there.
Okay, and then it trickles down to the builder and then eventually gets sold to the consumer.
That's correct.
So tell us about that whole process, because what we're seeing on the consumer side is that housing costs are on the rise. They are going up significantly. We're seeing a lot of increase in new home construction prices as well as resales. And one of the things that I've seen on the consumer side is that, they're looking at these new home sales, and a house they looked at 6 months ago was cheaper than the house they're looking at today. Same house, but it's not, it's more expensive. And we talked with Amy O'Connor last week about some of the reasons for that. And you can touch on those as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're seeing a very dynamic market here in the Houston area, very demand driven and supply constrained, so that it just ends up in being increasing pricing here locally. We're seeing it on a dual side of it. On the total market, you're seeing increased demand because of increased population, increased job growth, so more people are buying houses. The flip side of it is that there's only so many finished lots and so many homes on the ground for those consumers to buy it. So consequently, we're having a true supply-demand issue that's making those prices increase. Additionally, we're seeing land prices go up because of that same demand, and the cost of construction is also starting to go up as well. So you combine all those factors, and if you already have your home, you're enjoying the appreciation. If you haven't gotten into a home yet, the prices will continue to rise, in our opinion.
Right. And, a lot of the communities here have almost sold out all their lots. And so there just isn't, if you want to live in a master plan community, there aren't many left that have a lot of room to build on.
That's absolutely correct. One of the byproducts of the financial meltdown from 2008 was that there was almost a cease in production of finished lots, and especially new developments, new suburb developments here in Houston. So we're seeing the end of that cycle where those lots are finally selling, and the developers are scurrying to get the next ones on the ground for the coming wave of home buyers.
Tell us what that process is from the time of getting the money and buying the land, moving forward. What kind of time frame are you looking at until the consumer can purchase the house?
The point until from raw land until the point where the consumer could actually buy and move into that house is realistically a 24 to 30 month process. By the time you buy the land, get it planned, entitled, get all the necessary permits, the developer's going to be probably a 12 to 18th month before he can put his first finished lot on the ground for a home builder.
Because he's building out the med district and the sidewalks and the streets and all that.
That's correct. So it'll take him a good 12 to 18 months to do that. And then once the home builder gets a hold of it, they can usually turn it around anywhere from 6 to 12 months. But you kind of add that timeline from raw land to somebody being able to move in, and you're between 24 and 36 months, depending on where you are.
So as kind of a prediction. Looking forward, we are now there are a lot of people starting these developments now that will eventually turn into houses. Do you think that in the future this housing shortage is going to go down? I mean, that's the whole point of it, is for the housing shortage to go down and have enough housing. But will it become a flood on the market down the line?
I don't believe it'll be a flood on the market. Houston is in a very healthy housing market. We have good job growth, good population growth, and the financing side of it, you're not seeing unqualified buyers getting into more house than they necessarily can afford. So you're seeing good qualified buyers going into those homes. And so it can only grow so fast. On as far as new developments coming on the ground, again, it's going to be 24 to 36 months from the time somebody first envisions it on a raw piece of dirt to get it to be a finished home. So I think it's going to actually become a tighter market before it gets loosened up. And frankly, at this point, we're just not concerned about an oversupply of it, because we do see a long-term sustainable growth trend, especially here in the Houston area.
We talked a little bit earlier before the show about apartment rentals and rental houses. That there's been a huge increase in the amount of people who are renting houses, and it's caused rental rates to go up. What do you see happening in the future with all of those people who are now in apartments?
There's a lot of new apartments coming online here in Houston. It's a good thing, because it is a very tight rental market, both on apartments and for rental homes. So we're seeing more people move to Houston. The apartment side of it, as well as the residential home side of it, will both benefit from that. Those that are in apartments, some of them may be at a point where now it's more expensive to rent that apartment than to buy a home. So for a long time, the pendulum was on the other side. It's now swung back to where it's actually more expensive now renting. So I think we're going to start to see, in addition to new people moving to Houston, we're going to see existing apartment owners or apartment renters become owners here in the short term.
Okay, so kind of a tipping scale. I think that's very interesting, because there's not a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of talk about the jobs coming to Houston, moving to Houston, and the increasing population. But I haven't heard a lot about this kind of the second wave of buyers that's going to hit the market. We
think that's going to be a major influence, especially here in the Houston market, but also in other markets here in the Texas area. There are qualified buyers, and just they either haven't been able to get the financing, or they thought they were worried about home values going down, or frankly the timing just wasn't right. I think all of those things are now tailwinds and not headwinds. So we are anticipating a major move from people that are renters, that are qualified buyers, finally getting on board, biting the bullet. They're seeing home prices go up. Interest rates are still near record lows, and so the environment is perfect for those that have been on the fence to finally get off the fence and get into a home. And also, you have all those people who did short sales a few years ago, and now their credit's back to the point where they can buy again. It is. They're coming back on the market. The cycle's finally kind of seeing its way through it, and so it's, again, the timing's right, and so we're in a good place for it here in Houston. You have an interesting perspective that we talked about earlier about, we kind of talked about how California has more people than Houston, but yet there's such a demand for housing going on here. And it's just a really interesting cycle that we were talking about. The people who are buying here are your more solid buyers versus people who are investments or people who are investors who are buying out in California and Arizona. So tell me your thoughts on that. One of the big benefits right now in Houston and Texas in general is that we have a very booming economy. Oil and gas is obviously a great growth engine. The healthcare industry is a growth industry for Houston. And so we're seeing good sustainable job growth here. And so you're seeing people coming, you're seeing qualified buyers that are going to be your home owners. They're not necessarily buying it on a speculative basis. So the vast majority of the home buyers here locally are the people that are moving into those homes. We're still seeing investor money push the market in Florida, Nevada, Arizona, and California. They too are kind of recovering from the same real estate downturn, but we're seeing more investor dollars over there. From our side of it, we feel much more comfortable with the Texas market, because I'd rather have those end buyers be the people that are going to live there. Right. Less of a foreclosure risk, less risk of them, selling it off in a hurry. I think it makes for a longer, more sustainable uptrend for the Houston and Texas area versus some of the other markets you're seeing nationally. Yeah, it's interesting that in Arizona and California, we've talked to some, we've done shows where we talk to different people in these different areas and get their perspective, and they have a huge demand for housing, but it's a different reason. It's a different reason, and part of the other side of it is the prices went down so far, it literally got to where it was cheaper to buy a house on a short sale than to go build it from scratch new. And so once you see that phenomenon reversing, and it has been reversing for several years, it'll eventually kind of stabilize itself out. Here in Houston, we never had the big run up pre-08. We never had the big drop off after 08. We did have a reduction in the number of home transactions, but the home prices didn't change as dramatically as we saw at other places in the nation. So it's a much more stable, predictable market.
All right, we've got about a minute left. I have one more question for you about home builder stock prices. What are you seeing?
We have seen a dramatic run up on stock, or the home builders' stock prices since the beginning of 2012. The general marketplace has seen the housing recovery coming. Really in 2009, after the precipitous fall of home prices, you started to see that the rate of decline decreasing. And ever since then, the outlook has gotten better and better and better year after year for the home builders. And one of the things that we look at is on the national side, what is the confidence index for those home builders? And actually, the odd phenomenon right now is they're actually having a reduction in their confidence index, but it's not because they don't think they'll sell more homes. They do think they'll sell more homes and in more markets. Their biggest concern now is they're running out of finished lots. So the lot prices are increasing and cost of construction is increasing. So when you add that up, it puts a little bit of a squeeze on their margin, but they're getting back to the more sustainable levels of the amount or the number of homes built versus where they've been, pre-2009.
All right, sounds good. You are listening to Houston Real Estate Radio. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you so much.